What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Play the Fight Song College Football Show. Big time episode tonight. We are previewing the SEC. We have previewed almost every team in college football leading up to this point. It has been an absolute grind, as well as an absolute pleasure. Thanks all to you for hitting the subscribe button, hitting the like button. If it's the first time joining the show, we appreciate you being here more than you know, and you get an extra special treat tonight as Reese is back. Reese, what was it, 9 months you were gone? I mean, clap it up, fellas. Serving our country in Syria and the U.S. Army. What was it, 9 months you were away or 10? Jake's yelling on
nine.
mute.
I mean, it was 9. It was a long time. But yeah, probably just over 9.5 months. I think I've been gone. But you boys have been kicking ass, and you haven't missed a week. You guys are doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like the numbers have increased tenfold since I was here. So like I left, but you boys have picked it up, and just happy to be back, to say the least, gentlemen.
We are very, very happy to have Reese back in the studio tonight, and he will be a part of the full SEC preview. JP is also here week to week that we've been together. Boys, it's been a hell of a ride. We're here, last conference of the year. We're talking the SEC. Some people say it just means more. What do you think, Jake? You ready to preview him tonight?
Yeah, I just kind of, what's the word? I don't know. I very promptly finished the SEC show tonight, kind of leading up to this. I don't know what your guys' thoughts were on it. I was pretty disappointed by it.
The TV show. I was
the SEC,
yeah,
the Netflix show.
I don't think anybody was following you.
Or something, or what? I don't know.
My bad. The SEC show on Netflix. I thought it was very mediocre.
Disappointed because you didn't know what you're getting out of it, or because you
just thought they covered just the most bleak topics, and like Kentucky gets highlighted for a game where they just get absolutely mauled by Louisville. Sorry to spoil it for you if you don't know what goes on last year, but like they cover Vandy a bunch, South Carolina a bunch, covered Tennessee on the last episode of the year for the last like 2 or 3 games. It was like one of your only playoff teams. It was just kind of bizarre, and they forgot.
Or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they only cover 6 teams in 7 episodes, and they just did a kind of a poor job of doing it.
It was more high level than like Hard Knocks is. Hard Knocks goes more in depth, and I understand the process between the two are different. One team for X amount of weeks, and what they do, like 10 of the 16 in the conference almost.
Was it that many?
Yeah, because they didn't do no Texas, no Oklahoma, no Georgia, no Alabama,
no Missouri.
So, and then you said they barely touched on 2. So like I'd call it 9 or 10. Like if they could get some insight and like have people speak up and like their real opinions on certain things and how that operate, I get it. But at the same time, these are college kids controlled by college coaches. They probably are like, this is all the more you're getting. Like you're not going past this point kind of stuff.
One thing I'll say about the show is I thought when I was watching it, like we've seen shows like it, like Last Chance U and Hard Knocks, like JP said, it felt the most scripted or like out there when they would get off the field, like when they would go fishing and the guys were like, yeah, man, we just have to win this football game this week. And I'm like, these guys are just like doing
the Florida scene
on TV. Yeah.
Where they're at the dock and they made Graham Mertz talk to him about it like 3 weeks in. That was another thing. Why don't you just cover the show periodically, like week 1 through 12, and then do your little segments of each team because they were clearly recording the entire year. I don't think they just showed up at A&M and recorded them the week of Texas. Like I'm pretty sure they were there recording most of it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but it just felt like the way they covered from week to week, they just like slid through Florida's whole season in episode 2. And then they come back in Vandy, like the middle of the year. I thought it was kind of weird.
Let me ask you this.
Speaking of things,
you go ahead, JP.
I was just going to say, speaking of things being staged and knowing you're on TV and just trying to figure out what to say, the Little League World Series is going on, and those coaches have got out of control. I mean, you get there's a kid with a bases loaded. Yeah, bases loaded jam, nobody out, and they're already down 4. And he walks out there and he tells a story, tries to get the kids to laugh. No, let's go! Like, come on, we know
that's our exact plan, coach.
Viral.
Yeah, he said that story in his back pocket for like a month now.
No, that is solely based off of like the Massachusetts coach from like 8 years ago that went out there and the kid was crying, and then that dude's now like in the booth and he calls the game. So I guess they're just trying to get a job at ESPN. Maybe
they had one of those quotes or those tweets where it was like what was the moment you knew society was cooked? And somebody gave us that clip of that team like down 5 runs, bases loaded, nobody out. It was just that coach talking.
No, it's the kids high fiving the guys that just hit a 400-foot home run off and like high five around second base. Yeah, good job, dude. You just hit a bomb off my pitcher. What are we doing?
Like the bench warmers.
Good
job, Kyle.
If I was ever pitching and I turned around and my second base was dapping up some 250-pound 11-year-old that just took me 280, I'd be furious. I would have been furious. That's just not a situation.
Johnny, you're not coming to my birthday party anymore. You high-fived that kid.
Going back quickly to the SEC show, what did you guys think on the Diego Pavia side? Did you think more of him or less of him after watching the show? I thought he was, I knew he was pompous, but I guess just hearing him more talk, it was just like, good Lord, man, stop talking.
I thought it was kind of the same. I don't know. I feel like I've seen enough clips on him. Like he was about what you got.
Like,
yeah. The part of where he's like, he shows up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. and they kicked him out or something. I was like, all right. I highly doubt that.
I'm a starting quarterback. Oh, yeah, you got to leave, man. Sorry. No coach's supervision. Like, Diego, you're 25, buddy. No one's kicking you out. You're probably older than the janitor.
The honestly, but last one, you talked about the scene where they talked on the pond. I think the one where Whit Weeks and Garrett Nussmeier are forced to play college football. They're just having this awkward conversation about
are you gonna stay?
So, he's like, are you gonna stay? It's like, bro,
they had been uncomfortable.
Those scenes felt so forced, and they have never had conversations like that without that camera in their face. But
they had a
cool concept overall. I hope they try and do something better with it next year. But was a cool concept, and it leads us right into the SEC preview. Which, if you have not, yes, but not the basketball shit. If you have not been with us for the previews of the Power Four, we did it a little bit differently in the Group of Five. We went individual team by team. The Power Four, all based on topics, a little bit more discussion based because you've heard all the team by team previews. There's enough content thrown in your face for the Power Four teams, especially the SEC. But tonight we'll be talking top storylines, conference title favorites, coaches with the most pressure, the most intriguing team, our best long shot team, a wild card team, and then we will finish up with names and players to know, most impactful transfers, best games in the conference, and finalize with our full predictions, and that is in depth as offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, who's in the conference title, who's going to win the son of a gun, and that will all happen tonight. So hit the like button to start off the video. We want to give a special shout out to our great partner over at No Rivals, shopnorivals.com, and use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping on all of your awesome hats. I got the Topps Espresso hat on right now. The teams available for the SEC on No Rivals: Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Mizzou, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt. So we got a handful. Get on the website, shopnorivals.com, use the code, check out their awesome hats and awesome designs. Get ready for kickoff. All right, gentlemen, let's get into it. Let's kick it off with top headlines going into the 2025 seasons. These are ones that we have created. We're going to tell you why they exist, and then we'll discuss them a little bit. JP, why don't you kick us off with your top headline in 2025?
Yeah, shout out to using a little bit of AI here. I said last week it became less headlines and more just random questions. I wrote a headline. Wrote a headline here, guys. I had justified hopes or pure fantasy. Now, idea behind this being, are there really fan bases out there, and a lot of them in the SEC, right, hold themselves to a higher standard just based on the conference that they're in? But do they really believe that they can be the top of this conference consistently, or is a little bit of a, you're drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit? There's a little bit of a fantasy behind all that. I wrote down South Carolina, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Missouri as just 4 off the top of my head that I was like, there's a lot of fan bases in that just think that they are going to get to the top of the SEC pretty quick, and it's just inevitable, and it's when does it happen, not if it happens. I think there's a little bit of, there's a little fantasy in there. I think you're thinking of it too much, and I think this year and going down the road here, we're going to have a realization for a lot of these programs and schools that it's just not as easy as they thought it was to get to that point. And so it's a punching point for Missouri, I think, is one of the ones I highlighted most on this. I think Ole Miss, South Carolina, Oklahoma are like right below that, but Missouri would be like the poster child for this headline.
I feel like A&M's flirting on that line, JP. Would you agree? I mean, last year was probably one of their better years, and I think they'll get there under Elko.
Throw them on that line. But,
yeah,
they consistently get the 8-4 laugh jokes on them. I mean, you probably could put them in there. They believe that they could be, and feel like they got all the resources. Well, feels like everybody else is either caught up in some way or outclasses them in a different spot. And it's just been really tough to get to the pinnacle of things.
I saw a tweet today that A&M is the only SEC team that has not won against a ranked opponent on the road since 2014. It's the only SEC team that has not beat a ranked opponent on the road since that time frame. So I definitely
no yell leaders, no wins.
Yeah, they were. Trev Alberts, sorry, buddy. I hate to see you're struggling. I hate to see it. I thought you were doing the Shadur. I couldn't see you slapping your elbow. We got the tighter camera angles. Jake, what do you think on JP's headline?
Yeah, I think it's pretty relevant. Let me list you this to you guys. Arkansas, Vandy, Kentucky, Mississippi State. I think everybody else besides those 4 teams are spending money right now that make them believe that they actually have a shot at winning this conference title. That are just that, maybe not even conference title. Don't a lot of these schools just like want to get in the playoff at this point because they think 6 teams deserve to get in at the SEC level? So they're like maybe like a Tennessee last year. They're like, well, we're 10-2. We've won a couple of games. Maybe we can catch Georgia on an off night.
9-3 should punch my ticket or punch my ticket
in a neutral site in the playoff, or maybe at home or something. Like, give us a shot to just get hot like Ohio State did. We don't need to win the conference, but we just need to get in the playoff. I think there's those 12 teams outside of those 4 basketball schools I named that I think they're like, we get in the playoffs. Yeah. Oh yeah. Anything can happen. Maybe we could probably compete in the SEC for a title.
Tennessee looked really good too when they got in. So that has some standing for sure. All right, Jake, let's flip it over to you. Give us your headline. Let's talk through it.
Yeah, I guess mine. I wasn't smart like Jordan. I'm going to phrase another question. Does the SEC need to win the national title this year? Would be year 3 in a row if they don't get it done. I think as far as the national media side of things, I still think the perception of, well, he's just specifically SEC, but like these guys who cover the entire sport, I mean, they still think that you're like 6 teams in the SEC should get in the playoff. Like, look at the AP poll, look at Florida's ranking. Like, that's what stands. Like, where
you could look at power ratings and feel the same way.
Yes. Like, look at power rating. Pinch my 9
Yeah, that's what JP said. JP did have a mishap. Shout out GA for this comment. You said punch my chicken. I punched your ticket.
Punch my ticket.
Corrected I didn't hear him say that.
I didn't know I said it like that. I just fumbled my words.
Good catch. I was giggling. You saw me.
Keep rolling, JP.
Yeah,
We're
good
fine.
man.
We love that.
Go ahead, Jake.
It's our show.
No, it's great. Yeah, so like power ratings wise, they're still very much favoriting the SEC this year heading into the 2025 season. And I feel like some of the regular fans in the sport really kind of got tired of the narrative last year towards the end of the year when they didn't win the national title and they didn't really show up in bowl games. You had Alabama losing to Michigan. You had South Carolina losing to Illinois. Like, some of the regular fan bases are just regular fans of college football. And I think we could put ourselves into that category, are kind of getting sick of this narrative that people are just throwing on us with the SEC. And I think it's a huge year for them to win the national title. I mean,
right.
Yeah, we'll see how many they get into the playoff, and it's got to stand true, and we'll see if they can do it. They definitely still have some teams.
If you wouldn't have put in the document first what your headline was, this would have been mine. I mean, this is the most true thing about the SEC season this year. Like, they almost have to win it. Otherwise, they're just going to continue getting clowned because there is no ground standing. You haven't won it. Yeah, for 2 years. I mean, we watched Michigan win it. Then we watched Ohio State win it. Now we bring in more perennial powers into the Big Ten. Oregon's in that picture. And look at Penn State and all the hype around them. Like, it's not lining up that this is a clear-cut Alabama or even Texas run to the national title and through the national title, especially with the 12-team playoff. So I love the headline. Reese, what do you think on it?
I mean, I agree because you think this is it that it's the different SEC. Like, there's no Nick Saban. Georgia's not what Georgia was a couple of years ago. Like, there isn't that perennial powerhouse at the top. Like, Texas is Texas, but they haven't won the national title. They haven't been dominant. So it is wide open. I think there isn't like that perennial powerhouse. Like, now you look at Ohio State with Ryan Day. Like, there's better names out there. I think there just isn't that dominant team at the top of the SEC. So I 100% agree with Schaefer on his point.
All right, Reese, let's flip it over to you. Let's go to you. Give us your headline. What'd you come up with?
I didn't really know how to phrase it, but it was just like a question mark kind of. It's just like,
that's fine.
I just wanted to do like the cover magazine. It's going to say Rookie of the Year, and it's going to have all the new quarterbacks because there is so many new faces for quarterbacks for this league. Like, when you come and try to predict everything like that, I think it's impossible. Because, I mean, you're looking at Simmons in Ole Miss. You're looking at even Tech. Everybody knows who Arch Manning is at Texas. But, like, say that guy doesn't pan out. I mean, that's
he's never, hasn't been in the spotlight yet.
yeah, you go Mateer at Oklahoma, you go Aguilar at Tennessee, you're going Bo at Missouri, you're going Jackson Arnold at Auburn. Like, there's just a whole bunch of guys with a whole bunch of new faces and new places where who's going to be the guy? Everybody knows who Nussmeier is, but can he be overhauled this year? Can there be, because we know the injury concerns that he has too. Can some guy step up and become the face of the SEC this year for this quarterback? Because I think right now it's wide open.
I'm going to piggyback off that. So let me jump
Parks,
on that. Yeah, he didn't share it in the group.
I didn't know what you meant by yours, but I could tell that you were kind of going the same similar direction.
So my headline, I'll give us the magazine title. I said Big Gun, New Vest. And so I really, and it's going to be how these freshmen, these new faces, these quarterbacks that Reese just said, respond to SEC type teams. And there's a lot of experience coming back on SEC defenses. They've lost some big players, but they got a lot of portal transfers into a lot of different teams. So I'm interested. We're going to see a Carson Beck-less Georgia team or a Stetson Bennett Georgia-less team. Like, we're looking at Gunnar Stockton, Arch Manning. I mean, even on the high side, even at Alabama, we haven't gotten a non-running quarterback there in a while. How about Ty Simpson getting announced as the starter today? So all these new guys that have to basically learn how to play in big time games consistently throughout the game, not just a single drive, which we've seen some guys step in and do it successfully, which we'll get into, but there's a lot of new faces on these teams. And it's really going to come down to how they control against some good experienced defenses. And anything can happen when you get a quarterback into there, because you saw what happened to Georgia when Carson Beck came in. They've taken a step back since their back-to-back run. So we'll see how that goes. I love that headline. Your guys' thoughts. Let's go to JP on the quarterback having, the new looks at majority of the schools.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned these guys have to jump into the spotlight, right? We haven't seen them do that. Well, you know what we also haven't seen is them do a week to week to week to week to week, right? And so for me to sit there and say, yes, you're going to have to pick a team here, and probably most of them towards the top of the conference are ones with the new quarterbacks in a lot of spots. The ones we have question marks, and we'll get to a lot of these teams later, are the ones you feel like more solid at quarterback, but question marks everywhere else. This feels like a year, if you're going to it's going to be because your young quarterback was, maybe he's not unprepared, but he doesn't go up to the standard or whatever he's used to doing on the road. Yeah. Like, you're going to have a Milroe incident at Oklahoma, or somebody's going to have, I'm trying to think of a great example of a quarterback, just like one game, absolutely nothing happening for him. But one of those situations where, just nothing works out for you.
A lot of times.
That's how people drop football games, and that's where you get a top of the conference race that's just scrunched down 2-loss teams everywhere, 1-loss teams everywhere. So that's where I think that makes this conference more intriguing in a lot of spots.
Jake, quickly, your thoughts.
Yeah, just it becomes interesting, because what if there's a ton of carnage down the stretch, and we get a lot of 9-3, 10-2 teams, and that I bring back the conversation about the playoff, and that gets into this muggy, narrative that we're trying to push in a bunch of young quarterbacks from the SEC to get in, when there are a lot of other conferences, a lot of other teams out there that do return a lot of veteran quarterbacks, just not even, throughout the other Power 4 leagues. That I think it's going to be an interesting conversation, but we'll get your Ole Miss dropping to Kentucky, and we're still trying to push Ole Miss to get into the playoff.
Absolutely. All right. That is the headlines that we came up for this season. Let us know if we missed one, if one comes to your mind for the SEC in 2025. Drop it in the comments below this video. We appreciate your input. This is a show by fans for fans, so be a part of the conversation. Let's move it down. Let's go to conference title favorites. Let's have a conversation on, hey, who's picked to win this conference? Who's at the top, and is there any value on teams below them? The conference odds are as follows. This varies book to book, but the numbers are pretty similar. Texas is your favorite to win the SEC at plus 280. Followed by Georgia, close behind at plus 290. Then Alabama, a couple hundred behind them, plus 480. And then LSU rounding the top four out at plus 600. There's a pretty good drop-off after LSU, I would say, in my mind. What do you guys think? Is there value below this, or do you really feel like this conference champion's got to be in this top four? We just talked about the experience, and only one of them has it. What do you think, Jake?
I would push back a little bit, because I think there's still a couple of teams out there that we haven't seen hit their ceiling yet. Like Ole Miss fits the title. I think Florida fits that narrative, where young quarterbacks, the talent's still there. I mean, they're recruiting just as well as any of these four top teams. It's just a matter of like health. It's a matter of just needing to see them first in hand, and seeing like an Austin Simmons, and can we get a full season of DJ Lagway? So I think there is value throughout the rest of the conference, but I do think not even LSU. Like, this is kind of funny as we get Reese back, but do you guys know this meme? If you're watching on or listening on Spotify, sorry, it doesn't really do us any good. But like, you got the clown sitting there
guys and the clown in the middle. Yes,
that's that is LSU to me compared to Texas, Georgia, and Alabama right now.
Wow.
I think there's offensive line concerns with LSU. I know you bring in a guy like Patrick Payton at defensive end, who I think is like, isn't that just a guy who kind of got bailed out by Jared Verse? And can't remember the defensive tackle at Florida State at the top of my head a couple of years ago, where like you had NFL bodies on the Florida State line and Payton just kind of was the extra guy that made plays. And then the secondary still has some concerns. So I don't know. I really don't. I like some of the receivers they grabbed, but I don't like the over under win total setting at 8.5 for LSU right now. So I think this team could really go 8-4, and I don't see them like Texas, Georgia, Bama. It's just clear and cut the top three to me.
Fair enough. JP, what do you think?
I'd say if you're going to bet it, I'd sit below Georgia, Texas. I think Alabama's a good number at 480.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're playing the same game as what we were talking about with Texas and some other schools anyway, but 480 is not a bad number to get a team like that to win a conference, and schedule's not that daunting. But you're buying into some of that Simpson hype that's going to have to happen. I think below that, there are teams out there with it. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but like a lot of this for me was a lot of schedule based, and like one of the sides of the football was better than the other. Clearly, they'll have to carry them. So yeah, there's like an Ole Miss is out there. That's not a bad number to grab. Like Tennessee felt like a little bit of a reach in some spots, but I think the 4, I'd be kind of shocked if wasn't one of those 4 at least in it, or if it wasn't 2 of them in it.
Yeah, no, you'd be stunned if one of those 4 weren't in it. I think that would be shock the college football world and definitely shake up any conversation going forward for the playoff. Reese, you're a guy that's taken some dogs in your day. You kind of like the long shot pick. Do you see any value on the low side of this board?
I mean, not far below it, but just one below. If you're looking at it, A&M is 5th best odds. And I mean, if you're looking at that schedule, you get out LSU for Death Valley, and you end the year at Texas. But then again, that's a healthy Nussmeier, and that's Arch Manning panning out. If you can guarantee me you're going to win one of those games, and you can go on the road to Notre Dame, which is going to be a very difficult game. But this is Mike Elko. This guy made gold at Duke, and now he's at College Station, where they have a much bigger checkbook, and they can do a whole lot more stuff there. I have faith in this guy. I think year 2 to do a whole lot more here. So if you're looking outside of the 4, I don't look far, but I think A&M might be one where you can sprinkle a little money on.
All right, I like that take. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to coaches with the most pressure headed into 2025. Let's talk on the coaching side of things. Everybody picked one coach. Give us your details. Why do they have pressure? It could be a team expected at the top. Could be a team that's maybe coaching for their job, or a guy that's coaching for their job. What did you have? Let's go to JP first.
I'm muted, but I have Sam Pittman. I think that it's not just a Sam Pittman thing, though. I think it is a program under pressure in a lot of spots, right? The ball is kind of rolling downhill right now. You have to find a way to stop it, push this thing back to the peak where it can be. Like, we saw such a good 2021 year where this was like, okay, here we go. Like, got a real shot here. 2022 kind of fell off. I think that was more bounce of ball almost. Things didn't go the way. 23 was what it was. 24 it was what it was. And then you go into 25, and the expectation is that it's 4-5 wins at best, right? A really tough schedule and a really depleted roster from the portal in some spots. So I kind of worry if, like, as well liked as Pittman is Petrino just kind of waiting in the wings and becoming the favorite son of that place, like hoping that he gets that job in some spots like that. That'd be a hard guy to hire.
I'd hope Arkansas fans are smarter than that, than to trust that guy be the leader of your program.
They saw the bump when he got the OC job, put him back in the head honcho seat, right? Oh. I don't know. I think the pressure's on him, but the expectation also isn't super high on him. So maybe there's a shot that he can stunt some people, get to 6 wins, and keep his job. But I feel like there's more of an expectation that, like, it's just waiting. It's a waiting game at this point.
I'll bring it back up just because the team is on topic, but like in the SEC show, we did get to look at Arkansas for just a small bit and talk to Sam Pittman. And obviously, yeah, they made it very clear he's a nice guy and fun to work for, but like it seemed like he was so far hands off of whatever he was doing. So his assistants are very important. I don't think it's crazy to say maybe after viewing that, even the fan base would value the assistants more. I mean, he just looked like he was sitting in his golf cart for majority of the practice that they were showing. So I don't think it's a crazy take. What about you, Jake? What do you think on Sam Pittman this year? I know we all got a little Hogs fandom in us.
Yeah, 100%. And I do root for Sam Pittman. And JP made a good point. Like, is it more Sam Pittman that has the pressure, or is it the program? Because I'd argue, like, how many more years does Pittman really even have left if they do win 7 games? Like, is he just going out on top like that? If they can find 7 wins in the schedule
every offseason.
Yeah. The portal stuff is a nightmare. Like, listen to these guys on their defense. And so they lose all their guys basically to Ole Miss and wherever else. And they pick up guys from Maine, Troy, Southern Utah, Abilene Christian. Like, you're filling up your SEC roster with like second team All-American FCS guys. Not to say some of those guys aren't worth value, but you would much rather keep your guys on your roster that you originally had. And they lost some good pieces. So get to 6 wins and just retire. Like, I think that's should be the goal, because everybody loves him and we want to see him go out on top. Beat Missouri. Right. Beat Missouri your last game of the year, and I think people will love Sam Pittman in Fayetteville.
Clip A&M, and you might get a statue.
Yeah, there you go. He's had some brutal A&M losses.
He did have a big win last year, though, late. I mean, they did have an upset win, so maybe just a couple plays like that, but a bowl game would be huge for the Hogs. Let's go on to Reese. Reese, give us your coach under pressure this year and tell us why.
This year I went with the guy, Brent Venables. I just think you're looking at 2 out of his first 3 years. You're winning 6 games compared to Lincoln Riley when they had this roster. You're having Heisman quarterbacks. You're going to the college football playoff. This is a program that is used to winning. They're used to being in the spotlight. They're used to being there at the end of the year. And last year you go and lose a bowl game to a Service Academy. Go Army beat Navy. They lost to Navy last year. But it's just a spot where kind of a similar idea where this is just it's pressure from the program too, where this guy comes over from Clemson where he won some national titles, where, the question is now is he the guy to be a head coach, or he just a really good coordinator too? Because like there's no shame in that. And also you get a quarterback, you bring over the OC too. So you're not just putting a quarterback in a new system, but he's coming with the system. So like all the things have got to hit. You're getting guys portal wise, you're getting the hits that you need. Like, I just think everything's lining up for this to be a successful season for him. And if it doesn't, I just think OU and this fan base is not going to be very happy, and it's going to heat up. I mean, for him I think he has a job at the end of the year, but like it can heat up if it just doesn't go well this year to start off,
I think you nailed it, because you talk about the guys they're bringing in, not only John Mateer, but also Jay Knott. You look at in the backfield, they spent some money. They went out and he did the recruiting thing, which is not in Clemson style. So when you do that at your own space and you invest some money into the program, the pressure just increases. So he definitely belongs on this list. JP, your thoughts on Venables? I like Brett Venables, by the way.
I don't know. I mean, Oklahoma's one that we'll get to later in the show, but it's definitely under pressure. Like, if it's not, I still think it's got to be above expectation in some spots to like make the fan base feel completely right. I think hitting the expectation or going over the win total, I still think keeps his job and he gives him another year. But I think like the fan base will still have a ton of questions and still want to be, raising their fist a little bit in anger.
All right, Jake, give us your coach under pressure. Change the page for us.
Yeah, when I'm usually the one to put the notes together, so I usually get first crack at who I get to pick. And I've gone pretty chalk the last couple of weeks, but it's so obvious. It's Brian Kelly, and you can't miss 12-team playoffs at LSU. That's just unacceptable. This is a program that fired their head coach 2 years after winning a national championship. So
not a very likable guy either. I think he gets pressure.
I'm not going to bring up that show again. He drove me nuts in that show. He was annoying as all shit. And you see the success that Marcus Freeman is having at Notre Dame, and that is making it 10 times worse because Kelly left because, quote unquote, you can't recruit at Notre Dame. Well, Marcus Freeman is showing that, and they're better than you right now. And they're looking like the trajectory for them is far greater than what LSU is in right now. And I just don't know what would have happened if Nuss didn't stay. Like, how much money do you think they paid him? Because I mean, Michael Van Buren sitting there in the wings, but you lose Bryce Underwood in the recruiting battle, and getting Nuss might have been a job saver for Kelly at this point. We'll see. I think it's another 9-3, 8-4 season. It's just a matter of how does it shake out, and does that get them in the playoff? We'll have to wait and see. But I do not see 10 wins on this schedule for LSU, and I think that's just not good enough at LSU.
I think it's a fair point to make. I mean, it's a fan base with high expectations and a little bit deeper pockets down there in Louisiana than I think most people realize, especially within the game of football. And it adds pressure when you start investing in the program like some of these teams are. It adds pressure not only just the head coaching position, but from the top down, especially with the donors and their pockets being the ones that are emptied. Reese, any thoughts on Brian Kelly yourself?
I think Shaver put it perfectly. 12-team playoff at LSU. Like, you don't miss that. Like, you are a beacon for college football. Like, kids want to come play for you just because of the name. Like, there is no way that you should be missing, especially with the quarterback you have, the weapons you can bring in year after year, the money you have year after year. Yeah, he's just, I think this guy's equal with like a James Franklin, where he gets the big ones and just can't win it. So it's like you just equate them, I think, the same, honestly, in college football. And like we put all this pressure on James Franklin to do the same thing every year, and it just never happens. So I think same thing for Brian Kelly.
All right, there it is. Those are our 4 coaches under pressure. Did I give mine?
No, I was like, what? Because I was going to ask.
3. Here we go.
First time in 9 months we've done a show with 4 people on it.
We're back.
A little bit of slack, a little bit of break. I got to work myself back in. My choice, Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, and it's not because the preseason expectations aren't there. They didn't recruit well. It's simply because you still have a fan base that has the recency bias enough to remember the Nick Saban days. Like, that is still the expectation of this program. You missed the playoff last year. You drop a game to a below average Michigan team or an underperforming Michigan team in the bowl game. You lose out on quarterbacks like Jalen Milroe and some guys on the outside. You do bring it. Ryan Williams is still there. It's a huge retention piece. But I think it's college football playoff, or this fan base is going to get real pissed and real mad real quick. And all of a sudden, instead of saying you're under pressure next year, we're saying you're coaching for your job just because of the place you're at. So that's where I'd put Kalen DeBoer. I think they've got to get into the college football playoff to keep the fans off his back and lower that pressure gauge just a little bit, just because of the expectations of the program. Jake, what do you think on DeBoer?
Yeah, I think him and Kelly are kind of in the same boat, where we've seen more of, a couple more years of Kelly. Right. So I think the patience is loosening, but you got to make playoffs, 12-team playoffs at Alabama. I give him a little grace because I thought, honestly, for the most part, outside of the Vandy game, I thought Alabama had a decent year, and I think there was pieces there. And there's
Oklahoma,
but saw
the weird losses.
They did. You're right. And they didn't have that kill factor. And we'll see if that carries over. And from all the camp and off-season talk, apparently that was the point of emphasis. It's like, you come to play at Alabama, you better be ready to play at Alabama. So maybe they're weeding some of those guys out that maybe just stayed for Saban. So we'll have to see there. I got to see a year 2 product. Whereas like Kelly, it's like your recruiting's getting worse. And we've now the off the field stuff is like, it's kind of getting out of control. So I give him more grace than Brian Kelly does. Can I ask? Are you gonna? Can I ask something? I'm curious. Is Jeff Lebby under pressure?
I hope not.
I don't know. I don't know the expectation over there. Right?
Do you fire him if they don't win an SEC game this year? Because it would be what, 20 straight SEC?
That would be the biggest slap in the face of all time, because you have given that guy no chance. Right. He's done it by himself. He's flipped the entire roster. They've put no money into him. They just kind of look like they're cashing checks in a lot of spots. It would be asinine. I don't know what the fan base expects of him. He's doing everything he can with what he has.
Basically, you would just be hitting the reset button until you found your Signetti. That would be
because I say Deion and Signetti have ruined the sport, or ruined coaching, I should say. Like, as far as like the expectation of coaches, they haven't ruined coaching. They're great for the sport, but you know what I mean? Like the fan base's expectations have just gone out of control thanks to those guys.
Yeah, going back to DeBoer, he'll have to
less desirable.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Like DeBoer's going to have to move mountains and conquer the Aztec Empire to make that fan base happy.
That's
at some point.
Also true.
You're taking over for the best of all time. and then you're like immediately like not expecting any drop off or any change. It's an unreasonable expectation to him. Not that he can't, get to that point where they're really good and win national titles again, but to expect it immediately is a little ridiculous in my opinion.
And there's a couple more weird spots on that schedule too. Florida State to kick it off week 3. You bring Wisconsin in. Not that should be a problem for Alabama and what they have on paper versus Wisconsin, but God knows you lost in some weird spots last year, so it could get ugly really quick in Tuscaloosa for DeBoer. So that's why I have him on my list. That's now coaches under pressure. Let's keep it moving. We got a lot more to cover. Let's go into some teams. Let's talk teams now. Let's start with our most intriguing. Gentlemen, who intrigues you? Could be for various reasons. Explain why. Jake, you go first.
Yeah, I think it's South Carolina for me because
me too.
We just talked about young quarterbacks and the unfamiliarity for a lot of teams. Not the case for South Carolina. I know Sellers is relatively younger. I mean, he's still only got a full year under his belt, but he's one of the more known commodities out of quarterbacks in the SEC. And I think his ceiling is very, very high when he hits it and he's healthy. But it's interesting because he's good enough to make this team a dark horse, but also you have Dylan Stewart on the other side, who's one of the best edge rushers who came onto the scene in college football. But after that, you lost a lot of talent, man, on that defensive line specifically. I know you get Stewart back, but they lost a lot of guys that people kind of are going to forget about. And we'll just kind of see, because you maintain some of your big stars, and then Nick Harbor's another one they bring back. But can some of those other guys replace just a lot of that production, or can the stars just put this team on their back and make them a contender?
Yeah, it still feels like they will fit the narrative of like the long shot category later, but all this stuff, and I think their fan base did a really good job at this, and Nebraska's really good at it too during the offseason, is kind of convincing people who maybe don't read into it deeper why they're going to be so much better, and they should have been in the playoff last year, and Lenoris is back, and they got Beamer, and it's finally coming together, and they got the support of the fan base, and you're like, damn, South Carolina, they're going to be in Atlanta at the end of the year, that this team is back. And then you look at all the national media, you dive deeper into what they lost, and they're picked 10th within the SEC. So credit to the fan base. But if you look deeper into this team, Jake's right. I mean, they're intriguing, but it could go south really quick and end up being that middle of the pack Beamer season again. So what do you think quickly on Shane Beamer and South Carolina's intriguing team, JP?
I don't think there's enough on the offensive line, and I don't know if there's enough in the running back room right now for me to fully dive in on them.
All right. I think it's a fair place to put them. I think we will talk to them later. We will talk about them in another category. Reese, let's go over to you. Give us your intriguing team. Tell us why.
I went with Auburn, not as in this team's going to be at the top of this conference, but, it's year 3 for Hugh Freeze. You got a bunch of gets in the portal. You got Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. Didn't really hit last year, but I mean, that guy was highly recruited because of the skills that they saw in him. Kind of struggled with confidence, but then you know what? To help him get better, they got some huge gets in the portal from the ACC. You go get Horatio Fields from Wake Forest, and you get Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech, who was all conference as well. So what better way to help a quarterback that struggled? Get him some guys that are really good at catching the football and make him feel good. And then defensively, they got their coordinator from A&M. This guy popped out top 25 defenses and top 10 defenses A&M for a couple of years. That's going to help to shore up some of that defense, you would think. And then, I mean, schedule-wise, you look at it, you get Bama, Georgia, and A&M, but all your other conference games look winnable. And week 1 on the road in Waco, that's a big game. I think will say a lot about this football team and a lot about how Arnold has progressed, I think, within this scheme. But, again, this is a team where I don't see them. They're not going to be at the top of this conference. I think they're picked to be 8th within here. But this is a team where, like, hey, can we get back to, relevancy in the SEC, and also like in the state of Alabama, if DeBoer isn't panning out too much over there, like maybe we can recruit some guys to come to Auburn instead of Alabama now. He seems like that as well too. So that's kind of why I got Auburn in mind.
That's a very good reason why. JP, give us your thoughts on War Eagle.
I think there's a lot that needs to go right, but I think there is hope there for a legitimate reason. Fall camp intel, just like having the 24/7 sports stuff pulled up. It's kind of hit or miss a lot with what they have running with Arnold there. I think they have plenty of skill position talent. I think they've gotten better along the lines of scrimmage, but I think there's still more questions defensively, and it's just, does it hit enough like with the quarterback to make them hit the next step? Because they have 2 of the hardest rivals in the sport. You got to play Georgia and Alabama every year. That makes things tough for everybody.
All right, let's stay on you, JP. Give us your intriguing team within the SEC and tell us why.
Ole Miss. Ole Miss is intriguing as hell because you looked at last year and you're like, that's a surefire. You're playing in a 12-team playoff, whether you're 10-2 or 11-1, because no shot you miss it. Well, they did. And, it felt like their window kind of shortened. But then they go out and they make a lot of moves. They got a quarterback they're really high on that was kind of coming up and getting, he's a left-handed kid, and everybody's like, oh, man, I mean, is he going to be really good like Corral again and be able to move like Jackson Dart was? Well, we're not so sure. It's a possibility, though. Wide receiver room's full of transfers, but they really like it. They went and took Luke Haas out of Arkansas as a tight end. It's a great piece to have. I think Caden Preschool, I think that was his name. Was their tight end. Yeah, Preschool in the last couple of years was a really good piece within that unit. But the defense, the attrition is crazy. But they went out and got proven commodities in a lot of these spots, right? But 5 of the 22 two-man or two-deep returns, it's like that's just 17 guys who got a ton of snaps for you last year that has no shot at playing. 5 guys, and you got to gel them back into this defense. It's really tough for me to see. And then the secondary, I don't think you replicate what you did a season ago in the secondary. This is an Ole Miss team that's historically had problems in the secondary and gave up a lot of big plays. Immediately come to go back to 2021 KJ when they went to Oxford, and that game was ridiculous. If you remember how many points were scored in the fourth quarter in that one. But then on the flip side, I trust Lane Kiffin. I really do. I think he's gotten this thing moving in the right direction. He's made really good coordinator hires, and they get a good schedule draw. So if it all goes right, or even like 90% to that bell where it's just perfect, I mean, you're looking at a team that could get to 10-2 and punch their ticket into a 12-team playoff.
Yeah, I think it would take a big hump for Kiffin to get over that. It would be nice and big improvement for the school because they haven't gotten that big game yet that's really changed their season into being a playoff season. So definitely one that intrigues you just for the story of alone and the plug and play. Jake, give us your thoughts on Ole Miss quickly.
Just interested to see, what with this portal class, does it solidify that Lane Kiffin can develop, whatever portal hauls he brings in? You get guys like DeJon Stribling and Harrison Wallace from Penn State and Oklahoma State. Can you turn those guys into the receivers you had a year ago? Flip it to the other side. The defensive line was really good last year. Now you got to rely on Prince Will and the Womack kid from LSU. Can you turn those guys into a Princely last year? So if they pan out, it could be great, but can you really do this over and over again?
It's very fair question
no
to
in
ask.
those places.
I will go on to mine. My most intriguing team within the SEC this season is Missouri. And it's just more of exactly what I just said with JP and kind of the Lane Kiffin viewpoint that you have to take into effect for Missouri this year and the pieces they lost, but you're plug and playing. So it can go really, really good. It can be shockingly good for Missouri, or it can be really, really bad. And they could have fit in a different category here, but Missouri to me intrigues me because of the guys they brought in. I thought they did an excellent job through the transfer portal and even in their general recruiting classes. This could get interesting. We talked about Bo Pribula already. His name was already dropped. Him at the quarterback position. We know Drinkwitz's relationship with Brady Cook, and that being broken up. Is he going to fit in the scheme? We've seen a really good side of him running the ball. Can he throw the ball consistently enough? And then the weapon on that you lost on the outside, Luther Burden. I mean, he's in the NFL. I don't know how many guys it would take to replace that production at 90% of schools. So it's really these new guys being in new places. They've done a good job at it. And I think I looked at the running back position because 2 years ago, we were having the same conversation about Missouri. Can they replace Cody Schrader in the backfield? They didn't do a bad job last year with that in Noel. No. They really didn't. Here they come in with the Ahmad Hardy this year. So they've been moving and plugging and playing before, and it intrigues me because if it works out again and they take one more step, just like kind of JP explained with Ole Miss, it could go really well. On the defensive side, you had Damon Wilson out of Georgia, was the number 1 D lineman in the portal, number 3 overall portal player. So you think they got pieces on both sides of the ball. If things work out and everybody understands the scheme and the team meshes well in the locker room, the Zoo could be a team to watch out for. So that would be my intriguing team. Any thoughts on the Tigers? Open floor, whoever wants to take it if you got some.
I would just say, I'm sure Jake's got something too.
I've
seen them range from 4th, and I've seen them at 15th, or not 15th, but you know what I mean? That range that people think of them as crazy. And I don't know if Prigler is going to start. I don't. It doesn't sound like
And
it. Everything you read and hear is like he's still in it, which makes me worried a little bit more. Like there's so much proven, like on the outside at receiver, like Theo Weiss is gone too. That's a guy that was a big deal. The schedule is perfect though for exactly what you're saying, Parks. Like if they just get a couple things right, they have a chance to win 10 football games.
They get 3 of the bottom 4 in the SEC on majority of rankings in the preseason. So you're damn right. Good mention on the schedule. Jake, thoughts on the Tigers?
No, I got them next.
Oh, that's right.
Topic,
let's go to that. Let's flip right to it. Let's go to best long shot title pick. Jake, you gave it away, but tell us why.
Yeah, I got Missouri, and I should have pulled their odds up, but it's over plus 2,000, so 20-1 odds here for the Missouri Tigers. It just kind of what everything Park said. If I knew more about Pribula being like he is for sure our guy, he's going to be the starter, I would feel so good about this football team. But that's the concerning part because it's the most important position on the field. Clearly, you don't have to be much of a football fan to know that. But like you got guys like Caden Green, who's one of the best guards in all of college football. You got Zion Young at defensive end, who's one of the best edge rushers within the conference. You talked about Damon Wilson Parks. And then you get Kevin Coleman from Mississippi State, who I love. And I love Ahmad Hardy. I think he's the next young star in this league at running back. So they have all these guys, Norfleet at tight end, but quarterback. Paid so much for this dude. And now it's like, is he going to be the guy? Is he going to be the starter? I feel like it is just down to him. I feel pretty good with the rest of the roster. I really do. And I think if he pans out, you're getting great value for a long shot pick.
Yeah, but we also have seen the Drinkwitz. We've seen the Drinkwitz slip ups too, though. Like even with the weapons they had last year that we said they just replaced, we've seen some games that they've either gotten in dog fights or taken into overtime or even lost. That
they were at their best with Cody Schrader. And I know Nate Noel was fine last year, but Schrader was a difference maker. And Ahmad Hardy could be that. If they could run the football, they have good enough receivers to get open. They just need a guy, Sam Horn or Pribula, to make some throws.
Go ahead, JP.
Have you guys looked at this? Like, are we super, super confident they get Kansas? And then are we super, super confident that they're not looking to head to South Carolina with Louisiana coming in there with a team that I picked to be in the Sun Belt title? Like, we might just be off this train in 3 weeks, fellas. Or even 4. We're 2-2 going into UMass. Yeah,
but they also have six straight home games to start the year.
That's fine and dandy. Are you certain you're getting your rival that you haven't played in a while?
That Kansas game should be an Arrowhead. I'm just throwing that out there too. I know we're a big stain on campuses, but
I'm not going to call out like just an upset in this situation, but I'm saying there is a dead spot. But when you play Kansas, you get Louisiana, and then you get to start conference season with South Carolina the week after. That's all I'm saying.
Hell of a decision by Mizzou to bring back that rivalry after Kansas starts getting a pulse. I mean, you had like a good 7-year window to just beat up on them. But now here comes Jalen Daniels and company. So we'll see how that one goes. Good mention there. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to the next pick. Reese, tell us about your long shot title team. Who is it?
I went with Tennessee Volunteers. This is a team that I bet on a lot last year because of the quarterback they had. Now they don't have. But the big thing is everybody's focused on the Nico stuff. People are forgetting they lost Dylan Sampson, who was the SEC Player of the Year last year. And not to mention, why was he so good? You had 4 all-conference offensive linemen that blocked for almost 2,500 yards. Like that's a big thing to replace. So it's going to be up to Aguilar and Heupel. What are they going to do with this offense this year? I think is kind of the big question mark. Like, what is their identity? Because defensively, this team is going to be solid. You lose Pierce, or you replace them with Joshua Josephs and Jordan Ross, who's a former 5-star. Defensive coordinator, like he likes to cycle in a bunch of guys on the line so they stay fresh, get a bunch of pressure on. Defense is going to be huge. It's going to be kind of, I think, the key component for them to win football games this year. And then, I mean, you look at the schedule, they get the bottom half of the SEC as well. But then the big thing is you get Georgia early at home. What if Stockton doesn't pan out to be what they thought he was going to be? And then, third week in October at Alabama, that's a big game too. But again, that's a fresh quarterback over there. And then on the road at Florida for some Tom Petty. So I think the schedule lines up for if it does pan out with Aguilar and this defense is solid. Like defense travels to road games in the SEC. Offense is the question mark. So if this defense can find a way to limit the other teams, I think it's a good shot for Tennessee to take a shot, maybe run the table.
Obviously a very dedicated fan base, but I feel like the narrative on Tennessee during the offseason was just kind of fading away after the Nico situation happened, because that happened late, right? Then you bring in Aguilar and you saw some struggles in the spring game, and then people are kind of like, yeah, I'm out on Tennessee. Like, this team was one that made the college football playoff last year. Granted, they have a quarterback change, but so do a lot of big pictures. So I like him in this spot. I don't think it's a terrible take at all, Reese. And what do you guys feel on Heupel and the Vols this year? JP, you're shaking your head. What do you think?
I'm agreeing. I'm like, I don't hate the situation either. I know the Aguilar thing is the worry of his turnovers, and he's not too impressive in a lot of spots. But isn't this whole Heupel scheme based on just getting a guy wide ass open for a quarterback to hit? Like, why do you think, go back to, like, obviously Hooker was just an animal. Like, he was just an accurate guy. But then you go to Milton, who's not over there accurate, and he was more productive than Nico the last year. And then Nico, like, I feel like when they struggled, we were missing wide open guys. Like, you could watch the all 22 or watch the games back on YouTube. He's missing open guys. So if we can just hit open guys, that moves the offense already up 25 notches in a lot of spots. So I think you guys hit it perfectly. It's a good defense, and they're not missing in recruiting. And it's a fan base, probably more respect for Heupel, the way he handled the Nico thing than originally reported. Like, when it came out, it was like, oh no, what are they doing wrong? And then as it came out, I think people kind of understood why it was done.
Good pick out of Reese there for his long shot title pick with Tennessee. Let's go on to JP. JP, who is your squad? Tell us why.
Yes, shout out to our boy Ty Benson out there. Oklahoma is my long shot. That's 2,800 to win this conference title. I've seen, again, similar to Missouri, I've seen them at 30. I've seen them at 12 in this conference. Kind of depends on how you feel about the offensive side of things, right? Schedule does not play into this pick. I'll be straight up honest with you. It's a tough schedule in the SEC. It's a tough schedule overall. But I think when you bring an OC quarterback duo together and in tandem, they get a chance to install their offense and work through and get more pieces together. I think that goes a long ways. Add into that I think the receiver room thing was 1 in a billion. I hope no college program has to go through what they did last year with the amount of injuries and issues. And I know 3 of those top guys left anyway, but I feel like they made some strides and found guys there. I think the offensive line's pretty solid. Now, they gave up a lot of sacks last year, and there was a lot of Jackson Arnold running for his life. I think they are more improved. Is that going to be a high pass rush metric? I'm not sure. Is it going to be a high run push metric? I think it'll be better, because then you bring in a Jay Knott, and I think that changes things a lot. So the scheme can help your run game. You've seen it in multiple programs throughout, and then you flip things to the defense, and it is one of the better defenses in the SEC, has a chance to be top 3 in the conference. It's not really a conversation I'm willing to give in on. That's a top 3 defense in the SEC in a lot of places, just on paper. And then there's proven leaders on that side. And I kind of think that they really like Venables as a unit, so they're going to continue to play hard the entire year. There's a real chance that they get a shot to clip somebody late or really put their stamp on a game or on a moment. Like, I'm looking schedule wise, Michigan in week 2 going to Norman might just be like, hey, like, Oklahoma's pretty good. Auburn after the Temple game, and then you get a bye, and then you get Kent, and then you get Red River. God. So if we're sitting with 1 loss going into Red River or undefeated or something, I don't know. I think Oklahoma then gets the nod if they play that game really close, and you're like, hey, like, this might have worked. But I think run game wise, you'll know pretty early if this thing's humming, because Michigan's really good run defense. Auburn's going to have a pretty good front. And then obviously Texas has a good front. So I think within the first 4 weeks of the season, you'll know pretty darn well whether this Oklahoma team's got a shot to do something special.
I'm glad you brought up the defense and where they're ranked at within the SEC, because not enough people are talking about this Oklahoma defense going into the season. I think people forget where Venables came from and the defenses that he had at Clemson. This is a defensive-minded guy, and they had some flashes of it last year. People are forgetting they held Alabama and that Milroe offense to 3 points that night and had a pick 6. Like, they drubbed them because of the defensive showing that they had. They have a lot more opportunities this season to do that to more teams. So I love that pick out of JP. Jake, your thoughts on Boomer Sooner?
Yeah, the defense it's going to be nasty. And I'm really interested to see how obviously the offense looks, because it can't get worse. And Ben Arbuckle comes in with Mateer, like this little RPO. You have Jay Knott in the backfield now. You can use Mateer's legs. I think that could work. And then if the defense plays up to where its standards at, it's easily like this could be like week 5, like JP said, and you're like, yeah, this team is not a dark horse or an underdog anymore. Like, they are the top one of the top dogs right now. They look legit. I also forgot they got Deion Burks back. I thought he graduated. So it's a big piece at receiver that hopefully he can stay healthy.
Well,
Were you doing hot to go there?
Yeah, I'm hoping Oklahoma comes out with hot to go here, like Cal did. Yeah.
Reese is disappointed. That was a disappointment.
No, I just see JB just doing it the whole time. Yeah, he's doing that. That's our buddy.
That's what I thought. I was trying to follow the letters here in the view. But all right, that's Oklahoma. I'll move on to my pick. My pick, I got to give a disclaimer before I release it, but this is really a verging on the edge of making a long shot because I believe their odds our basis were anybody over 2,000. There are a lot around 2,000, and that's the Florida Gators. And I really like Florida this year. I think you've seen the national picture be really high on them, and then the opposite of these non-SEC guys being like, why are they high? Maybe somebody else deserves that recognition. They've still struggled last year. They have an unproven quarterback. Well, when you end the season with a 4-game winning streak, you do what they did with their recruiting class, not just the portal, but in those high school ranks. And then you have a lot of experience in the trenches. We talk about all these new quarterbacks. Having experienced D-line is a massive advantage within college football this year. Florida's got it. I think they brought in guys on the outside or back on the offense side of the ball that are pretty impressive. A couple of 5-star guys, Vernell Browns, he's out of Florida. And then they brought in a late Oregon flip. He comes in. That's Dallas Wilson, both 5-star guys. And don't say, hey, they're true freshmen. They're going to have their moment, but can it be that much? Jeremiah Smith was a 5-star true freshman last year. And look at the impact he made on the national champion. And now he graces the cover of the video game. So a lot of high potential out there for Florida just because of the experience in the trenches, the upside of DJ. And I think they can be better and be a long shot pick within this conference. The fan base is ready to go. It's a great question in from GA. Is Lagway going to be healthy and stay healthy? It's tough to say because I think that's a conversation worth having about a lot of these teams is the depth. If the quarterback goes down, we're probably talking about a lot different in the SEC narrative-wise. JP, I'll go over to you. Your thoughts on Florida, and then we'll talk to Reese.
I have some thoughts on Florida in my next segment, so you can go to Reese.
Okay, Skip. Reese, tell us yours.
Well, we're going to go ahead. We're still on our most intriguing or best long shots.
Yep.
Sorry.
Thank you, Reese.
Sorry. I got
9 months.
I now have a roommate over here and there's just noise going on or whatever. I don't know. So, yeah, I don't fucking know, dude. Sorry. Wild card team. Anyway, we go. You guys are just talking about.
It's great to have him back, Reese.
We're literally not going to go anywhere else. Like we're sticking with Oklahoma. Like JB just talked about all the same stuff, and we're going to stick with it. Like we're hoping Mateer's going to hit. You're talking about it's the highest ceiling, but also the lowest floor. What?
We're talking Florida. We're talking Florida. But
bring him back. Bring him back.
Nailed it. Mateer.
Hey guys,
Oklahoma. Definitely good long shot pick.
Give me
Thank you for your service. Let's lock into Florida. Tom Petty.
Tom Petty won't back down. No, you're talking. It's also
Reese,
if you're looking at Florida. What?
Where does Tom Petty won't back down rank among college football traditions?
For me, it's.
I need to get your opinion on that.
Now that now I'm more of a Syracuse guy. It's probably number 2, but I love it. Who is it? Is it JP that hates on, or is it you that hates on it more?
I think it's all right.
I think it's JP that hates on it. It's a good one. You get
it is a good
chomp and the clap with it, dude. At the swamp.
All right. I like that take. Let's keep it moving. We're already an hour into the show. We still got a lot more to cover. So let's flip it over to wild card teams within the SEC. JP, you gave yours away. So talk to us now.
Florida's a wild card team. And for everything that was just kind of covered there, you don't know if Lagway is going to be able to stay healthy. You don't know how good that defense is going to get. You know it's going to be solid, but is it going to be great? Take the next step. You don't know if the offensive line is going to be much better, and they play an insanely tough schedule. So if they are better in all those facets, they are still a wild card because maybe they get a team or two that they weren't supposed to beat and changes and alters kind of what the SEC looks like standing wise and who goes to Atlanta. But if it doesn't hit, they kind of fall back into a spot where you're looking at Napier again and wondering if he'll have a job the next year. You go forward in that, maybe they do have a chance to win a conference title and punch their ticket. And does 9-3 with that schedule get them into a playoff? Some would say it's almost a lock. So it's a very, very wide range of things that you might get out of Florida. So it's a pure wild card. You have no idea what you're getting out of that team, I think, more so than other ones we've covered in other conferences.
While we're on them, Jake, give us your thoughts on the Gators this year.
I think I touched on it earlier when we were talking about favorites, like kind of like the Oklahoma narrative. Like we could find out really early if this team is clicking and they are playing well and they're healthy. You're like, oh, this team is actually top 4 in the conference. Like it might not take long for us to figure out that like Florida is legit and they just had talent the whole time. We just haven't seen it since, what was that, 2020, where the kid threw the shoe. That was probably the closest they've been to relevancy.
Yeah.
So I think it could, like, we haven't even mentioned like Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks on the other side of the ball. We've just been talking about Lagway, which is fine. That's a huge piece of the story, but the defense is going to be nasty. It does. They remind me of Oklahoma so much. They are two very similar teams that seem like just a couple of things need to go their way to be one of the best in the conference.
All right. That is JP's pick for wild card team. Let's go back to you, Jake. Give us your pick and tell us why.
We've talked about them a decent amount within the show, so I'll try to keep it short. Auburn for me, like, what else do you expect with this Hugh Freeze team? It's a team that is loaded at numerous positions, and it's a team that went all in this year and spending cash, and then it turns out the portal didn't end up actually having as much as they thought it was going to, like the year prior. And just does the new supporting cast, does it complement Jackson Arnold? I think it's just the biggest question mark. We'll have to wait and see. Cam Coleman, I don't think you're going to get a bigger Cam Coleman fan than me. I think that kid is going to be fantastic this year if they can find him the ball. And I think he gets overshadowed by Smith and Williams. And I still think, like, guys, he was a freshman last year making as many plays as those guys. So they have all the pieces. It's just like, we know Auburn could probably beat a couple of really good teams, but can they consistently week after week win football games and not lose to New Mexico State or to Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia? So we'll see if they can put it together for 10 weeks in a college football season.
All right, Reese, let's hear your wild card team.
Oh, I kind of see my deal, Jacob. We're talking about this team a lot, so I'll keep it brief, but it's Oklahoma. Like, you talk about the defense that everybody, like, it's going to be solid this year. The last two defenses they've had the last 2 years is number 10 and number 13 nationally. But then I think if you just, like, really want to look at it, like, look at the middle of their schedule. Like, if it's going on, it's going to be good. But then you have Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Bama, Missouri, LSU to end your year. Like, if Mateer doesn't pan out or he is injured or something is not clicking, like, that's a rough stretch. So I think that's just kind of the what I would say for wild card team. Like, it can go well or it can not go well.
Before I get into my pick, I want to say I would give the same disclaimer. We've already talked about this team a ton, so let's have a different conversation about the SEC here. Mine was Ole Miss, same reasons JP talked about with his intriguing team. But, I mean, you look at they're bringing in a bunch of transfers. It's the same thing where it's a plug and play. Is it going to work for Kiffin? Will it change the outlook of the program? If it goes good, it can go really good. If it doesn't go so good, you have a left-handed quarterback, things can go really south. But I more want to ask you guys, do you think we've seen the same teams repeating in this wild card segment and the intriguing and now even the long shots, because it's like there's like 3 or 4 viable options maybe to compete for the conference and the bottom half is so terrible? Why do you think we're talking about the same teams here and the same feeling? Do you think college football is the same, JP?
I think when I personally have looked at wild card teams, it has just been a basis of something looks really good. The other side feels like you have to have a lot go right. And that's definitely in Oklahoma. That's definitely a Florida. That's definitely a, whoever you want to put in this. And other conferences, I was just looking back who I had in my wild card. I had Minnesota in the Big Ten. You have no idea what you're getting offensively. You're high on a quarterback there. And then TCU in the Big 12, great offense. Do they play defense? Not sure. So they all kind of fit the same mold. But the depth on where this team could actually get feels different, like the ceiling for each of those. And what really regards them as a wild card team changes based on that, I think. Like, you can get the middle of the conference as a wild card team, but some other conferences you had to go a little bit deeper, it felt like. Yeah. And not feel as
Big 12, yeah.
I like that explanation. So let's leave that there. That's our team by team kind of long shot picks, intriguing picks, and wild card picks. Let's keep it going. Let's go to names and players to know within this conference. Let's talk individual players, who they play for, why they're interesting, why you're going to need to follow them. We try and avoid the big-time names that, of course, you're going to see on the face of video games or players you'll hear about on ESPN every other day. and we kind of get nitty gritty. Maybe guys you don't know about, but you're going to hear their names called consistently on Saturdays. Before we do that, we want to remind you to shop at our great new partner over at FrostBuddy. Let's go to frostbuddy.com/PTFS. Do all your shopping through that link. Keep your drinks cold for tailgate season. They got the universal FrostBuddy that fits any type of can, bottle, anything you got, whatever you're drinking at your tailgates, your BYU, enjoy your Monster and your FrostBuddy. If you're in Nebraska, enjoy your awesome, massive beer and prepared for a one-score loss. So shout out FrostBuddy. Shop frostbuddy.com/PTFS today. All right. Shout out to Anthony. He said the Syracuse guy is back, or is it Rutgers? No. Reese actually gave a take one time saying that Rutgers was in Poughkeepsie of all places.
Piscataway, brother. We got to figure it out. We're good now.
Put it on the
Definitely a
merch
Syracuse
line.
guy. But we are happy to have him back. Thanks for the comment, Anthony. Let's go on to the players. We'll go down the line one by one. Reese, why don't you kick it off?
So I'm going to go with the name that I know Jacob was a big fan on. How about Casey Concepcion at Texas A&M? Was a big name last year at NC State. Just didn't really pan out. You know, the injuries with McCall and had to retire early. So for the backup, we got to step in, but just didn't have quite the year. So this guy's going to come into an A&M this year with Reed and an offense that I think is going to be kind of poised. I talked about them before. Like if you're looking for a team outside of the top four to make a shot, I think this is a guy who's going to make an immediate impact, especially at College Station. And it's just going to help out that offense too. So how about Casey Concepcion?
Love that. Jake.
I'll do another wide receiver transfer, Eric Singleton, coming from Georgia Tech to Auburn. I think like him and Cam Coleman, like you just don't have enough secondary to guard both of these guys. And this dude could be a household name by the end of the year. And it sounds like he's just absolutely blowing up for what they paid him. So he's going to be a name to watch for sure.
I had to literally delete out the typing of Eric Singleton in my most impactful transfer. So couldn't agree more. JP, your pick. First one.
Oscar Delp, tight end, Georgia. Numbers aren't gaudy. They're not insane. He's not going to do, Heisman numbers or anything like that. But 45 receptions and over 800 or 500 yards over the last 2 years, 7 touchdowns. Just expect those numbers to go up this year and see a good bump. He'll be the feature guy in the tight end room, even with a better receiving core that Georgia brought in.
For my first pick, I'm going to go with a guy that Jake literally just typed up, and that's Cam Coleman over at Auburn. I think people do not know enough about his true freshman season last year. He gets the second-year bump, had 8 scores, averaged 16.2 yards per catch, big body, loves where he's at, loves Auburn. You saw him in the documentary, so definitely a guy you're going to see consistently if that Auburn offense succeeds, and he did that last year, reminder, with a Peyton Thorne that was both either banged up or thrown at the other team. So if he can get a good quarterback in there, a lot of things can go right for Cam Coleman. All right, let's go back to Reese.
How about Josh McCray, a big body back coming out of Illinois to Georgia, 6'1", 240 pounds. Guy's going to be a very big impact when it comes to short yardage games, and I just think goal line situations as well. Not to mention you have a big body back there. It's going to help block when you have a new quarterback there. So I think he's just going to be a guy for short yardage situations. If you just need to hand the ball for somebody to get a couple yards, then also, hey, let's get Stockton some more time to potentially throw a ball if they're going to bring the house, and this guy can help block for a little bit for him too.
Jake.
McQueese Humphrey Grace, defensive end coming from South Dakota to Kentucky. Got to give Kentucky our shout out. Don't feel like we've talked about the Wildcats tonight.
We have not talked about the Cats.
I think that this was regarded as the best player in FCS last year on the defensive side of the ball, and he's going to start right away for them, I think, at defensive end. And I think he's actually got legitimate talent that could come in and be an all-conference guy. And like what Mark Stoops in the defensive line produces at Kentucky. So I think he's in a perfect spot to be successful.
All right, JP, go to yours.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, let me just grab a guy that's already going to have a chance to be first team all SEC on the defensive side. Mason Thomas, a defensive lineman out of OU, 23 tackles, 9 sacks, led the Sooners last year. Just a freak on the front, and they got other guys to help him out. So he's going to draw some double teams, but he'll be able to make enough plays and with all the talent around him. So expect him to see front page type numbers.
Let's flip it back to the offense. I'll go to the outside again. Let's talk Caden Lee over at Ole Miss. Hell of a season last year. He's only a junior, but he's going to be a leader in that room. They lost some production on the outside that everybody knows about, but 57 receptions, 900 yards, only 2 scores. You'd like to see him get in the end zone a couple times this year, but a nice downfield threat for Austin Simmons from the left side. So if he's on the left side of that offense, it's going to be almost read number 1 now. compared to last year. So 15.5 yards a catch, good downfield threat for them. So definitely a name to note for the Ole Miss offense, which is always high flying. Back to Reese.
How about defensively as well? Arian Carter, a linebacker for Tennessee. This is a guy who's coming back after playing last year a bunch, 29 solo tackles, had an interception. Tim Banks, DC there. Like, this is a guy who knows what he's doing defensively. And what better way to make your defense strong than having your guys in the middle to command your defense and lead them around? So if this defense is going to be successful, and I talk about this team potentially being a long shot, this defense has to be solid, and look for this guy to be a big part of it.
Jake?
Barian Brown. I chose all transfers, but I think these are names that people need to know because everybody knows the big names in the SEC.
It's actually not a bad thing to do. It's because, like, how many transfers do you forget about, too?
Right.
So,
I 100%.
So
as long as we're not in game 12 calling them transfer from wherever.
Yeah.
I had a pet peeve of mine.
I guess here's another Kentucky shout out, but maybe not in a good way. Like, former great Kentucky receiver. I think he just needed a quarterback to throw him the ball. And this is a dude who can come in and put up Kyron Lacey numbers if Brown pans out, because I think he's got the speed to do it.
JP, your last and final.
Will Lee, corner at A&M. Guy's pretty
K-State
good.
transfer.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, 2 years ago. Please don't do that to me. The guy's got the nickname the blanket. I remember if you had that thing. I think A&M fans sent Theo Weiss a blanket before they played Missouri, and it wasn't actually from Will Lee, but kind of like made it like it was. Guy's pretty good. 42 tackles, 2 INTs a season ago. Plenty of passes defended. One of the better shutdown corners in the conference. You're going to need one in this conference. We just listed all these pass catchers through all these teams. You're going to need a guy like Will Lee on your team.
Let's stay at the defensive back position. I'll go over to Georgia because we talked about last year in Georgia, the struggles that some of their young secondary had. Here was a bright spot for that young secondary and a guy who was going to get a big jump in year 2, and that's KJ Bolden. And he was a stud last year, 40 solo tackles, had a forced fumble at his position and a pick. So he takes a step forward, and that Georgia secondary takes a step forward, which a lot of people expect him to do. He's going to be a name that's consistently at the top of that list. So KJ Bolden, our last and final player to watch. Let's keep it moving on players. Let's go to transfers. I know Jake just gave you 3 of them, but let's talk 4 more. Jake, let's go to you first now, since you want to talk transfers all day.
Yeah, this guy gives like a real impact as far as like just a huge pickup late spring that I think kind of changes the momentum of what this team looks like. And it's Elo Madozi, Army transfer, heading to Georgia. They needed depth at this position, and I think that's a spot where Georgia struggled with depth the last few years because of the portal era. Like during their back-to-back title runs, they just had 2 deep guys who all could play in the NFL, and they missed guys like that. Now they pick up Madozi, who I don't know if he even starts right away, but like now that guy is in your 2 deep, and that just makes this defensive line / linebacker group that much better.
Yeah, for sure.
JP.
Ahmad Hardy. I mean, this is a guy that ran for over 1,000 last year at ULM. Obviously, you do that kind of number.
Not an easy place to run for 1,000 yards, by the way.
No, but hey, part of that good year for the Warhawks, you do that kind of number in the G5, you're going to get a chance to go somewhere. And Missouri's shown that they're going to go pay a running back and help them out, right? They took Carroll and Noel last year from G5 programs. How about another one? This one feels like it's got a little more upside.
I like that. I will go on to mine, and it's a guy that Jake actually pooped on a little bit earlier, but Patrick Payton headed to LSU, came from Florida State, and we talked about maybe the guys that he didn't perform up to the status quo of the edges at Florida State, but like still a very projectable player and could be a massive impact for LSU on the edge. Like getting to the quarterback, he only had 4 sacks last year, and a defense that still had its struggles for LSU, nonetheless improved from year 1 with Brian Kelly. They're going to need guys like Patrick Payton. So definitely a name to note, and I think he's going to make an immediate impact for the Tigers on defense. Reese, give us the final impactful transfer.
Went with a not too beautiful one or crazy one, but how about Josh Thompson? He's going to be a lineman for Louisiana State University. What better way to secure your quarterback and keep him healthy than get a good quarterback? Or a good lineman? This guy's 6'5", 315 pounds from Northwestern. So if you want to keep Nussmeier healthy and have LSU be a shot, you got to have a good line. This is going to be a guy who's going to be a part of it if they are going to be successful.
All right, there are most impactful transfers in the conference as well as players to watch. Let's get into the games. Let's talk schedules. Which games should people tune in for? Have multiple TVs ready to go. I'm sure we're going to have some crossover dates. That just seems to be the theme in college football this year. But give us some games. Who do we need to watch? Make sure you tune into this. Don't show up to the wedding. Cancel the funerals you're going to. Have people not die. Tell us them. Jake, you go first.
Have them not die. Got it. Alabama at Georgia, week 4. I mean, last year that was one of the better games I had. It was one of the best college football games I think I'd ever watched, to be quite frank. So I expect this one to live up to the hype too, and it's only going to keep building and building because the expectations with these two teams who fell short of their expectations last year are just, it's getting higher and higher, and the pressure's mounting up on these coaches and their players.
JP.
Tennessee at OU November 1st.
Is that back at OU?
Teams, yes.
Really?
Or, no, sorry. OU at Tennessee.
Yes, OU last
year.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was genuinely asking.
Written down wrong.
Okay.
It was Nico there last year.
For me, if one of these teams is above expectations, this is one you have to have, right? This could be a make or break for either one of these teams. So I circled that one because I feel like they're on an even playing field to start the year.
I think people forget that game was College game day. Oklahoma was undefeated at that point. Going to be a fun one to watch. It was a close game for majority of it. Nico sucked in that game. So I like that pick. Reese, let's go over to you.
Well, it's tough when there's just so many games to pick from, but I'm going to go a little outside of the box. It's a shame none of you guys are thinking about this. Tennessee, Syracuse, week 1. How about
Great
my Orange?
Pick.
Big one in Atlanta.
Orange battle.
Why is this game in Atlanta? It's so stupid. I don't get it. I'm not going to lie. Syracuse going
Do you
to
remember
would be terrifying, but Tennessee, Syracuse, week 1.
I feel like there have been some blowouts.
Bring them to the dome.
I feel like that stadium's like known
the
for
52-3, the 52-3 Georgia games.
You watch your mouth, dude.
Oregon,
Fran Brown,
USC.
dart, determined, accountability, relentless, and I forget what the T stands for. But we're running in there.
I like that. I like it. It's Battle of the Orange in Atlanta. It makes no sense that it's in Atlanta. So great take there. I'm going to go with Texas at Georgia for my first one. Also very chalky. November 15th. 2 teams picked at the top of the conference. Maybe could see a rematch a couple weeks later. So definitely one to watch there. Let's go back to Jake.
Auburn at Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold returning home. I'd have to look what week that is, but it'd be just fascinating to see. Both coaches on either side have hot seat pressure to them this year, and just the storylines of this one is exciting for sure.
Always great to see a quarterback go and play where he came from. JP.
South Carolina at Missouri, September 20th. I just think this is the same thing. Early in the year, you want the expectations to be high for your team. You want to get off to a good start. You have to have teams at the same level as you. You have to beat those teams consistently, and that is the definition of that football game early in the year.
Reese.
I went A&M on the road at Notre Dame week 3. Again, there was a big game last year, and I think this is going to be a big game for both these teams this year. A&M on the road, those two teams actually be like. I had a lot of faith in Mike Elko. I think he's a hell of a coach, and if this team is going to be on the right trajectory, especially in year 2, this is a game I think is very, very gettable for them. Can maybe play spoiler for this Notre Dame team.
Let's head back to Woo Pig. Texas A&M at Arkansas for me in late October. I think this is kind of the similar spot we saw Arkansas take down Tennessee last year. And with Texas A&M's early schedule, they could feel like they can get a lot, put themselves in a good spot. And then that's a great spot for Sam Pittman to get one of those upsets I talked about earlier. So definitely one I will be tuned into. Let's go back to Jake.
Florida at LSU. LSU will be coming off 2 weeks removed from the Clemson game. And just, if they lose another week 1 game, I guess pressure again is on both sides for these coaches. And you're 3 weeks into the season, and we're going to find out what these teams are made of. And the losing team, it's going to be hammer the panic button. And I'm ready for it. I'm ready to eat it up.
Somebody in the SEC offices just is going at Florida schedule wise. So they're going to be talked about again. I promise you that. JP.
Notre Dame at Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the beginning of the end if you don't show up and stay tight, with the Irish and Fayetteville. But maybe you show up, you play really well, have a chance to get them late. To tell me that doesn't shock the college football world early in the year.
I love that one. Brees.
How about Texas at Florida, October 4th? Arch Manning's got to go week 1 on the road to the Shoe. Then how about a second road game in college? He's got to go down to the Swamp. It can be a not very friendly environment. And we're going to find out if he has what he takes to win in this conference on the road with 2 very difficult road games early on. So give me that one.
Let's talk about the beautiful home and home rematch we get from last year. Florida at Miami very early in the season. You get all the hype around both of these teams, especially with the really non-deserving hype some feel like from the Florida side. You got to go into Miami. You get a chance to return the favor they gave you last year, talking to your recruits, just absolutely blowing you out in your own house. So definitely one that's going to have some chippiness to it as well. So that's must-see TV. All right, those are the best games in the conference. Could be out of conference, in conference games. Make sure you tune into those. Let's go on to the point of tonight's show. Before we do so, we want to give one more shout out to No Rivals, our great partner. ShopNoRivals.com. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping on all of your awesome new hats. Ton of SEC teams on there. So if you're just joining the show, head on to ShopNoRivals.com and use that code when you get your awesome new hats for game day this year. But do it right after this. Gentlemen, let's do it. Offensive Player of the Year to kick us off. We'll talk conference title. What are you feeling for the SEC in 2025? JP, give us your Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I'll double up here just so we're moving things a little bit. Offensive Player of the Year, Nussmeier. I just think the offense is going to be good enough, and he slings the ball well. Defensive Player of the Year, Anthony Hill, Texas, is a defensive line guy that I put up gaudy numbers that get talked about a ton last year. First off the bus type guy, just one you want on your football team at all times. And I think he is I don't know if he's the centerpiece of that defensive line and that front seven, but it is one or two.
I will go to mine. Let's go for Offensive Player of the Year. I'm going to take Ryan Williams. And it's the compadre of Jeremiah Smith. But Ty Simpson, if we can get some more consistent passing than we saw from Milroe last year on the outside, year two bump, maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. Now he's 18 years old. We don't have to hear about him being 17 anymore. And he's going to have a hell of a season stat-wise. So maybe Ryan Williams will get the Offensive Player of the Year bid. Jake.
Yeah, I'm going to go Ryan Williams as well. And I think the fact that Ryan Grubb's coming back to call plays makes it a whole lot easier for whoever's going to be quarterback. So I think Ty Simpson's ready to go, but just the play calling abilities from Ryan Grubb gets me excited about what can happen with Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams this year.
Reese.
I'm going to piggyback JP. I went with Nussmeier. I really thought about Williams, but I just think you don't know what Ty Simpson's going to be like right away, but I'll handle the guy who's going to handle the ball every possession, so I'm going to go with Nussmeier.
You had their pick of the crop here. I really feel like you could name names and it wouldn't be crazy. There was no really god-awful standout on the defensive side of the ball. JP, you gave yours, correct?
Yep.
Okay, Jake.
I'll stay on Texas with JP. Michael Taft, safety, though. I think Anthony Hill's a good pick, but I think Taft's one of the best safeties in all of college football. So I went with a guy who I think is going to be making plays with the Longhorns this year.
I hate to double up, but Jake and I already did it. I have Anthony Hill from Texas down as well at the linebacker position. Number one teams in the country have to have a good linebacker unit. Anthony Hill's the standout guy there, so that's my pick. Reese.
I just went with Dylan Stewart, pretty chalky pick from South Carolina, but that's a guy who's just going to have an immediate impact. And any team that's going to play South Carolina, like, you're scheming for that guy because he can be such a game wrecker. So give me him.
All right. The time has come. Conference title game. Who do you have playing in it? Don't tell us the winner. We'll do that to finalize up the show. But who's playing in the conference title this year? Who will be playing in Atlanta? Who will be watching the indoor version of College Game Day? Jake, I'm making you go first.
Well, to get to my point, Reese made a good point about the Florida-Texas thing, because after Arch goes to the shoe, they have like UTEP, Sam Houston, and some other FCS school, and then they go to the Swamp. So for that reason, I'm sticking with the two of the top three. Give me Georgia and Alabama. I trust the commodities at both schools. I think Alabama's got the talent, and the offensive line is going to be really good. And I love Gunnar Stockton. Cam Coleman fan club and Gunnar Stockton fan club, you sign me up for. I don't think Gunnar Stockton's like better talent, like NFL kind of talent. But I think as far as like culture, like put your nose in the dirt kind of guy, like people were like, oh, but he lost that Notre Dame game. No, do you remember Arian Smith just dropping a 75-yard post pattern? Or do you remember him coming back, stepping in the second half and winning for Texas? Like, I think this is a dude that just fits the mentality of what Kirby Smart wants with this group this year, as kind of an underdog, so to speak. And I got Georgia and Alabama.
Not to mention, I think he won the Heisman about 850 different times on NCAA football simulations. So Gunnar Stockton, definitely not a crazy one to say is a gritty guy that can get it done at Georgia. JP, did you second his pick?
Yep, I did.
That's what I thought.
I was so close to keeping Texas in this, but I do think there's a piece of them that I'm just not too sure on. I'm a little more confident in what Kirby will do, and I'm a little more confident in just Alabama's base as a defense, and then some of the other pieces as well. And I like their schedule more. So those are the two I got in it as well.
I went to the newest quarterback that I'm the highest on, and that's Texas and Arch Manning. So I do have Texas in there, but I have LSU because experience matters to me, especially within the SEC. I have Texas and LSU playing in Atlanta at the end of the year, which would shock a lot of people, but it came down to guys that have played in these games before and aren't going to make those game-changing mistakes that I feel like the other two guys can make more often than Arch. Those are my reasonings. Reese.
Yeah, I went Georgia and talked about this team before, but I'm going to go with A&M. I'm going to go a little bit outside. I think Elko and this team,
he's back.
Let's spice it up a little bit differently. I just think, again, at the beginning, there's a whole bunch of new quarterbacks, a whole bunch of new faces. Like, it's difficult for teams and quarterbacks to get adjusted to this, to going on the road and playing here. Like, it's hard to win on the road. And you guys talked about before, like, week to week to week to week, like, it is difficult to play in this conference. And if you're a fresh face in a new place and it doesn't go your way right away, fan bases are pretty tough. Like, belief is a very powerful thing. And if you don't have it right away, it's tough to kind of overcome that and go, win a game on the road or something like that. So I'm going to go with A&M in Georgia.
Let's go back to you. Who's going to win that thing?
Sorry, back to Jake.
I was just going to say, Jake, like, you continually pick teams that play each other in the regular season. Arcs and Reese did not. So
yeah, I know.
You've said it every week.
But that is why that's why I went at least Georgia, because I think Georgia's going to beat Texas. Texas might beat 9-3 after Ohio State, Florida, and Georgia.
I think you just fast forwarded to the last segment, and that would be hot takes. But we'll get to that. Reese, give us your conference champion. Who's going to win that crazy game you gave us?
I would love to make Elko win that one, but I'm just going to go with Georgia. I just think Kirby Smart's going to be able to get his guys fired up for that one. It's just you should trust a guy in that situation. He's been there before, done it before. So give me Georgia.
For the opposite reason, I would not love to say that Brian Kelly's going to win it. I think Texas is just better, and I think Arch Manning's running ability is going to be the difference maker in that offense with the play calling ability of Sark. So I think they run that SEC title game if they make it and play LSU. So Texas would be my pick. Jake.
It's funny how people painted the picture of how Georgia's season ended last year, and it's this big failure. Like, I'm gonna go with the Dogs, man. Like, I don't know if anybody's been more consistent in this new era of college football in the SEC. And forget, this team beat Texas twice last year. Up and down the roster, I think that this team is maybe untouchable is not the right word, but most consistent. I still don't think we'll have an undefeated team in college football this year, but I think 11-1 is definitely on the table for Georgia.
JP.
Alabama. I think
it's 4 different conference champions other than Reese and Jake. Sorry.
I think if Simpson is average to above average, there's too many weapons. It's too good of an offensive and defensive line. It's too good of a secondary to not have a shot to win this thing. So that's kind of where I'm at.
You would, few and far between 3 years ago when this show started, if we would have said Alabama's winning the SEC and somebody went, really? It would be like, you idiot. Of course they're winning the SEC, but here we are. That's where college football works. So that is our conference title game and champion. To finalize up the show, let's go back to Jake on that. Texas 9-3. Explain it. That's a hot take.
I mean, just lay out the schedule like I said, at Florida, at Ohio State, at Georgia. Like, what did JP say about Oklahoma? What if they're finding their stride and they're undefeated heading into that one? I like Arch Manning, and I honestly sympathize with him.
Sound like it.
This kid was sorry. Arch Manning, give me this kid almost fall asleep. I don't know. Like, we've seen a very, very small portion size of him, and it was against who? Mississippi State and ULM, two of the lower teams in college football last year. And I still think, didn't he have 2 turnovers in the UTSA game, or one of those games he did? So we'll see. I think Arch Manning could be
turn the ball over for Jake. Just deal breakers.
We're just gonna find out.
All right. Any more hot takes out there? I think we
do
have
a hot take.
We do have an LSU fan joining Jake, though, quickly. Shout out to LSU Hyper Ninja 9. Texas is an 8-4 team at best. That's even
I call
hot.
that red hot. Yeah.
Let's just call it hate.
Might be clickbait. You work for On 3.
Wow. Just throwing media industries under the bus.
I don't think mine's a hot take, but I've said it a couple of times on this show, and I'll have money on it to back it up. I think Oklahoma just kind of beats the tar out of Michigan in that first game in Norman. Like
that would take a lot of smoke off the Nebraska.
I think the line's 3, right? The line is 3.
Yeah, you better go take it. This is like the third time you've mentioned that now. You better take it at this point.
Because people are waiting for what I say to go bet the number. Jake.
No, I'm just telling. Back it up. If you think it, back it up.
What I just say, Jacob? Why do I have to go now? Maybe the number is going to drop to a pick 'em. You don't know that.
It's fair.
Jake.
Suck on that, Jake. Reese, any hot takes?
I'm gonna steal Schaefer's from a couple of years ago. Like, we're talking hot takes. How about Oklahoma? Right. I think this is the last year that Oklahoma and Texas were both in the Big 12. How about Oklahoma finishes better in the conference than Texas does?
No, that was my hot take last year, and that didn't.
That was last year.
That did not work.
That did not play out well.
It didn't work, but guess what? We're getting hot takes. Hot takes.
Little forced, but we'll accept it. I do not have one. I did not force one through.
What if a real hot take? Brian Kelly doesn't coach all 12 games. LSU Hyper Ninja just left the chat. I got mad at that comment. He spitballing, throwing it out there.
Texas got beat by Georgia
Texas or Ohio.
We did not have Texas.
LSU
correct.
Hyper Ninja 9. Yeah,
we have them at, I believe, 2. We did not put them at number 1. We agree with you. There is question marks. It's not a crazy thing to say. However, there might be a tad bit of bias in your mind if you're an LSU fan, and that's fine. I had LSU in my conference title game, so you're in the right spot. I think LSU is going to be better. I disagree with Jake wholeheartedly. I definitely think Brian Kelly is going to be coaching because I am coaching in the conference title game.
We were asked hot takes. I'm just throwing one out there.
Mike Elko,
you're throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks is what you're doing.
Yeah,
come on, man. They're not fired.
I think
they're still paying the old payout.
How far did Ed Ogeron get fired into that year?
I'm gonna be honest with you. The Ed Ogeron situation is a lot different than the Brian Kelly situation.
Wasn't he fired mid-year? He wasn't fired at the end.
Oh,
guys,
I think he was fired at the end.
This is not the same situation as what Kelly was doing. Come on. What Ed had going on was so much different than what's going on with Brian Kelly.
Because he was
I agree.
hanging out with some nice women? What do you mean?
All right, that's everything. We're getting a little lost. It's late. That was the SEC preview. We previewed all 136 teams in college football, gentlemen. Little pat on the back, a little clap for the boys. That's a lot of hard work, a lot of time and effort we put into this. So make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to our channel. College football content all year long. We're talking previews. We're talking recaps. We're talking team by team. Our fan perspectives. That's Iowa State, Iowa, Nebraska, and Reese is always throwing in the Syracuse love. So we have representatives from each Power 4 conference outside of the SEC. We just talked about them. Let us know what you think in the comments. We love you. Shop No Rivals. FrostBuddy.com/PTFS. We'll see you next time. Jake, take it away.
Game week next week. Let's play it.